member from Parkdale High Park.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the acting premier. Yesterday, the Liberals defended cutting 20% from Toronto public libraries. The government says the library's digital archives project isn't being used. Actually, the fact is, Mr. Speaker, usage is up. The government said the library isn't spending the money. Actually, Mr. Speaker, the library says exactly the opposite is true. The Toronto Public Library says these Liberal cuts will mean less service at Toronto libraries. Why is the Liberal government cutting from Toronto libraries, and what library services do they actually expect to disappear?
Thank you. Deputy Premier.
Well, thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. I want to be very, very clear on this. There is no change whatsoever to the base funding for Toronto Public Libraries. We continue to invest $4.1 million in annual base funding to Toronto Public Libraries. On top of that, there's an additional $1 million to Toronto through the Ontario Library Capacities Fund over the last 3 years to support the important work they do. What has changed, Speaker, is funding for the Virtual Reference Library, a funding, by the way, that is 20% provincial and 80% City of Toronto, the Toronto Public Libraries. Speaker, we did contribute 20%. We have seen a reduction of use we have chosen to reallocate that money in improving digital services, support leadership and innovation, and invest in rural and remote communities.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, back to the acting premier. Only in a Liberal world is a cut of $1.4 million not a cut. One of the great things, Mr. Speaker, about public libraries is everyone uses them. Young people use them, seniors use them, new Canadians use them. They are where people go to take out a book, use the internet, learn, take a language class, polish up a resume, catch up with friends and neighbours. Public libraries are at the heart of local communities, and the Liberals are making cuts to the Toronto Public Library. Just ask them. Simple question. Will the Liberals reverse their cuts to libraries in Toronto? Can we tell Toronto Public Libraries some good news?
Be seated, please. Be seated, please. Thank you. Deputy Premier.
To the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank the member opposite for her question. You know, Speaker, I know that she shares the love and care and concern of libraries, and that's why I'm happy to share with her the following. Our public libraries remain an important priority for this government. That's why, Speaker, we actually take the time to talk to them and to listen to what they want. Libraries across this province told us very carefully through the development of our culture strategy that they wanted to be sure that the dollars that we were investing made sense. This is funding for a program that's been in existence for 20 years, that back then was an innovation, but over time, because of the increased development of the internet, has made it such that only 25% of libraries in Ontario are using this program, and it's administered by the Toronto Public Library. It is not their core funding. It is not their base funding, which remains robust at $4.1 million.
Answer.
And that's why, Mr. Speaker, I want the opposition to get their facts straight. Thank you.
Thank you.